You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the August 7th, 2024 meeting of the Michigan City Tree Board. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Welcome to the meeting of the Michigan City Tree Board. We are starting at 5:30 tonight, pursuant to the schedule change that we passed the last meeting. So our meetings will be at 5:30 p.m. and that's when we're starting tonight, which is an hour earlier than last time. So let's do a roll call, Ms. Secretary.
Jen Birchfield.
Present.
Dennis Britton.
Present.
Dominic Edwards. Betsy Alcessa.
Here.
Laurie Anderson, I'm here. Jim Melowitz.
Here.
Mary Nell Murphy.
Here.
Biddy Cora. Not here. Okay.
Very good. We have a quorum. We'll call the meeting to order.
And we'll put our phones on silent.
The first thing, order of business is approval of the minutes from the July 3rd meeting. Mary, I understand you have some concern about these. First of all, has everybody received these? They were emailed out by Mike earlier today.
Yeah, I'm fine with the agenda. The agenda's fine. I didn't receive it as I mentioned in the email too. I didn't get it on the 30th, but I got it today.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a couple of things.
Okay, my question was about the minutes from the last meeting.
Oh, the minutes. I thought we were going to approve the agenda. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, do we really have to approve the agenda?
Yes. Oh, we do. Yeah. Yes.
Well, it's, do we have to take a vote on approval of the agenda?
Yeah, real quick.
Okay, everybody vote, all in favor of approving the agenda for today's meeting?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. I'm not sure we ever done that before, but
We haven't, but
Doesn't hurt to do
it's
it.
part of the new thing.
Then, yeah, we've got the new rules.
We haven't
is the mayor requiring us to do that, or is ordinance?
Standardize the
requiring
meetings, I think.
us to approve the agendas? Okay,
I do that at other meetings.
fair enough.
Okay.
This is for moving on to the approval of minutes for the July 3rd, 2024 meeting.
I have a couple of issues,
Okay.
pretty minor, but let's see. Under approval of minutes in C, the absence of, let's see, no one produced minutes within the allotted time. That should be no one produced agenda, because that's the thing that keeps you from having a meeting. Is the agenda has to be out 48 hours.
Okay, that's why
More than 48 hours.
the June meeting was not an official meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll change that word to agenda.
And another couple things. Under communications, B and C. Mary Nell Murphy was at the Elston Grove. She
Sorry.
was not.
I was not, sorry. I was
Because she doesn't live in Elston Grove. I do. I was there.
Well, that was you and
So
not,
that was me. And in C, that was also probably me. Because I often speak about oak trees and oak willows.
sometimes unprompted even, yes.
Yes, yes,
Okay, yeah, thank you.
that's it.
okay, so no, C is also you then.
B and C are me.
Okay, any other corrections?
Making me look like a real slacker there, but okay.
Mary, did you have anything else on the minutes?
No,
Okay, any other comments, corrections on the minutes?
Michael, I just was gonna mention something to you at the end of the meeting that's informal,
Okay,
off the record on the minutes.
okay. All in favor of approving the minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes.
I second.
Yes, we do need a motion.
As
Second.
as corrected. I second it.
And yes, and this is as to the corrected.
Oh, the corrected minutes.
Yes, right?
I move that we approve the corrected minutes.
Okay, just to clarify the motion. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes, the minutes are approved. Okay, treasurer's report. This was sent out by the forester. It was one page. Does anybody have any questions
Yes.
about that?
Of course. I see, I see what's at the bottom of the page, it says printing and advertising. And year-to-date, $54, which is then in parentheses, because the budget is 0. And I'm just wondering if that could be put in under office supplies, where we're budgeted $500, none of which has been spent. And if we don't get busy and spend it, we won't have it. But we did spend $54 and change.
Where did the $54 come from?
It came from our debt.
I think of making flyers and communications for like,
The $54, as I recall, was the, $54 was expense to newspaper for advertising the grant.
But my question is, has it been paid, that bill?
I'm not sure.
It shows,
I'd have to look at the,
it shows a deficit of $54.48, indicating a transaction of $54.48, so presumably it's been paid.
and yeah, that would have been a paid bill.
I'm not positive, because I know we have to communicate something to the controller for them to pay it. We ran into something like that last year where there was a long delay for printing materials or something.
Well, I approved a bill from the,
Okay,
I approved the bill from the, for the grant.
So, to your knowledge, it's been paid,
Yes.
I guess, but it doesn't appear that there was any money to pay it on the.
right, there's no.
The way this.
Well, that's why my question is, can it come out of office supplies where we do have money?
I don't think that quite fits, but.
It's grant money, so it comes out of that fund, and then it goes into the grant fund,
I
and that
see.
grant fund pays our fund that pays the bill.
Okay,
So basically, this budget doesn't include the grant funds as revenue.
Not yet.
Okay. So this is
it gets
non-grant
paid after
revenue.
the fact.
But it does raise the question, we have $500 for office supplies and other office supplies?
Yep.
And we're well into 2024. Is there something that can be?
The board has not spent any money on office
Okay,
supplies.
so we might consider that so that it doesn't go
Right.
away.
Well, I would suggest next time we make flyers or informational materials,
Science.
And there's still time.
signage, we should,
yeah.
We have a lot of call for signage.
But the expense is reflected here, but the grant revenue is not reflected. So is that a disconnect that we need to solve?
No, they couldn't connect the dots until I got all the paperwork through the system.
Okay,
So I'm basically spending money before we got it.
I understand
Yeah.
that. Yep, that's my world too.
So eventually, Michael, will the grant money be reflected on this budget?
The grant money will show up as a line, but not on our budget.
Okay, that makes sense, yeah. It's not in our
Okay.
budget, city's budget.
And we'll be reimbursed then for the $54
That
out of the
grant
grant money?
money will pay that bill through our account.
Okay. The other thing I would point out here is this does not appear to indicate that board per diems have been paid in the current month. And there's been, I think, some issue about, we need to verify as to whether the minutes need to be forwarded to a particular city agency or how that needs to be handled so that those payments are made for the meetings as they occur.
I'll contact the controller's office in the morning and make sure we get that mapped out.
Okay. Any other questions about the budget?
Yes.
You always have a question.
Of course. Good. You asked. We also have a Michigan City Tree Board donation fund
That's
with
right.
the comptroller.
Right.
And we probably want to see that in future months too. So there's a whopping $632.19,
Hey, that's something.
or at least there was.
Those are like from donations at the
Yeah.
seedling giveaway and such?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would also just note, it appears that we also have a line item for other supplies that is separate from office supplies.
Yes.
We're into August, so we should consider,
What's the, I'd have to see the,
I see zeros on those lines.
let's see, oh, am I in the wrong line? Other supplies, other ed and training supplies?
Yeah,
0, 0, 0, 0, 0.
they're all zeros.
Oh, okay. And then okay, I see,
The 500 is from.
Forgive me, I'm new.
No, the
Okay.
500's only.
So that's just our
office
supplies.
It's really hard.
We need to talk about how to
Yeah.
utilize those
Yeah.
office supply funds at some point before the end of the year,
Yes.
so that they don't, because they'll go away otherwise.
right.
Yeah.
Also, the city, I just got a memo today about creating budget. So the tree board may want to look at all their budget line items and see where they want to include that in the city's budget. Because that was the issue last year, there's no money ever budgeted for anything. So,
So when is that going to start?
pardon me?
When does that start?
Immediately. They've already started the process.
Will you be bringing a proposed budget for your department, for the city forester and the tree board to us to consider or review or something?
I don't think you get the Forester report. I don't believe so. Because I
You
think
sent
that
us
now
a
goes
Forester.
through the mayor's office.
Okay. So you'll be doing that directly through the mayor's office with
Yeah,
to the city council?
Because I've got some line items that we're gonna have to start from scratch to create the report. I'm gonna have salaries and things in there that I have to put in.
I think that we should get that, though. The board should be provided with that.
Well, you'll get a copy of the
Yeah.
final report, sure.
Before it's finalized. I mean, our job is to provide some oversight and review, so I don't know that we want to get in the weeds on this stuff, but I think the board should be put into the loop a bit.
I'm
What's
totally
being
confused because I have in my hand Forester Monthly Report to Michigan City Tree Board, August 6th.
Or do you mean
It's
the
August
budget?
7th. You got the old report.
When you say the forester's report, do you mean the financial budget? Or the items that you accomplished this month, which we did get a copy of?
I don't know which line you're reading.
I believe we're talking about apples and oranges
I think
here.
that-
I think so too.
Michael and I think, are discussing the budget for the forester's office.
That has yet to be created.
It has yet to be created, that will be submitted to the mayor
Okay.
and then submitted to the city council as part of the city budget.
Right.
My request is that we be brought into the loop on that so we can see that before it's submitted. So if we have any questions about it or suggestions, we might make those. I think that's
Yeah.
part of our role here.
Yeah. Seems reasonable.
To do that.
I'll
Can we make that happen before it becomes final?
I have a meeting with the mayor about that at some point, and so I will find out.
Okay.
Good. We do have a motion to approve the budget report for as of July 1st, 2024 that we've been discussing.
I move to approve.
I second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Nope. The budget is approved. Moving on, the next issue on the agenda is let me just back up on one question I have with regard to that. Mike, when do you anticipate putting that together?
The report,
Your proposed budget? Yeah.
they're gonna give me I'll get a memo with my date and time for that. They may have given it to me and I just haven't opened up that envelope yet, but I haven't seen it yet.
So we'll most likely we'll see something at the next meeting?
Very possibly, yes.
Okay. Communications. I have a communication to report, and that is I had a discussion with Betsy Mayer, the executive director of Save the Dunes, recently about working with them to bring volunteers to work with us in planting trees, if we should be fortunate to get another community tree grant eventually, and assisting us, and she seemed very willing to do that. It's hopefully establish some relationship between this board and Save the Dunes that might be fruitful.
Yeah, sounds great.
And my other communication is from the Indiana Department of Natural Resources, which is going to have a seminar on urban forestry in Indianapolis on December 3rd and 4th. I've registered for that. I will be attending, and if anyone else is interested in it, I think registration is still open. It's at Crown Hill Cemetery.
If I may add, DNR, Coastal or Community Urban Forestry is also holding the DNR Tree Steward Program, which Betsy, you've participated in, I think you've participated in as well. September 12th and 13th, I believe. Everyone should have received an email, but I would encourage anyone who wants to attend to register promptly. They've limited registration to Northwest Indiana through, I believe, the 12th of August. After that, they'll open it statewide, and it will fill up. So if you're interested, please register for that.
Let me suggest that since the Save the Dunes people sounded interested, that we forward that information to them.
Yeah, I will do so. I'll do that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, Save the Dunes is a great organization. I think they have a lot going on and know a lot of people and have a pretty vigorous volunteer base. That could be real beneficial to us and to them. Any other communications by the board?
Well, I got this thing that says, good morning, the Tree and Urban Forestry Program at the DNR is putting together an application for the GLRI grant. More information can be found here. Our proposed project includes pass-through grant opportunities for communities to implement green infrastructure projects. Blah, blah, blah. The focus would be on making long-term commitments toward green infrastructure that extend beyond the life of the grant. Would you be able to provide a letter of support?
That's right.
For our application as a member of the Michigan City Tree Board? So does that mean each of us as individuals write a letter of support?
It sounds to me they're only looking for one letter,
Right.
but representing the tree board.
I agree, and I think that's a good idea.
Who's requesting the grant?
Indiana DNR, Community and Urban Forestry.
So they're looking to get a grant.
They are looking to get a grant of federal funds through the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, through U.S. Forest Service, that would be focused on Northwest Indiana. And so we could potentially apply to them or benefit from their, if they were awarded this. Personally, I see no reason not to support their proposal. It looks sound to me.
I agree.
Yeah.
Whether or not we directly benefit from it. They're a partner and
Sure.
Someone will, there'll be more trees.
yeah, they do good work up here
Sure.
for
I
us.
think if we can
So I would be.
lend our voice to it and support it, that's a good thing.
And I just don't know the process, being new to the tree board, of if that should best come from, it sounds like they're looking to show tree board support.
Right.
I don't know the process of, I would assume that needs to be on letterhead. So I don't know the approval process of getting that approved. If we're all on board with that in the first place, do we need to go through the mayor's office to get permission?
I don't think we need to go through the mayor's office.
Just to
All we're
write a
doing is
letter of
voicing our
support.
support as a board for this
Okay.
initiative. I think we just need to draft a letter probably for my signature as,
I would
on
think
behalf
that
of
would
the
be
board. Don't you
appropriate.
think, if the board is all in favor of this initiative?
I suppose we should have a vote,
Yeah,
and then either you or me should write the letter
Yeah.
and sign it on behalf of
Okay,
the board, saying we had a vote.
sure.
yeah, I move that we produce a letter as the Michigan City Tree Board supporting the DNR for this grant. And I request that Laura draft that for Jim's signature.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
I,
All opposed? Motion carries. Laura will draft a letter of support for that initiative for my signature. Do you want to circulate it to everybody after you draft it, or just send
I
it to me?
think
Oh,
I'll just say the
email
vote
us.
was unanimous in favor,
Okay,
and who was present. So,
okay, very good.
And I'm making a to-do list that I'll send out probably tomorrow.
That's very helpful.
great.
That
Yes.
I always welcome if anyone has anything I'm not writing down, but
thank you.
I will include that on there.
Do we have any other communications?
Yes, and I should have printed it out, but I didn't.
Oh, no.
Leo Sawyers sent a email out a couple of weeks ago when I was busy with family.
From the Student Conservation.
Yeah, and asking for help in getting local people hired, I think was the gist of it.
Okay.
So,
What can we do for that? Or
well, that's
do
a
we-
good question.
Is there anything we should do?
I think I should
We can
Maybe
offer
ask
him
him.
some office supplies.
$500.
But we could, through office supplies, tangibly, print some flyers to
Sure.
post, and I'd be willing to, just as I'm out and about town at a coffee shop, post a flyer at Lakeshore Coffee. I would propose that I would volunteer to reach out to Michigan City area schools to see if it could be sent to the high school. They're looking for, I think, recent graduates. They're looking for young adults. But I think if we could get it out through the school system, that would reach a lot of families that maybe recently graduated from the high school. I think that would be a great avenue.
Marquette High, possibly.
Possibly, yeah, Marquette High, we could, but I think it's in our best interest.
Oh,
certainly,
yes. Oh, my gosh, yes.
Absolutely, yes.
They'll be hiring someone, and the more that we can do to help them find someone, they want to find someone from the community.
Don't
And
we-
if they don't receive applications from the community, they'll hire someone from outside the
Right,
community.
right.
Don't we also have an Ivy Tech location?
We do.
Yes,
We do. And would you talk to guidance counselors at the schools?
I don't know that I have contacts at guidance counselors necessarily. The only thing I'm aware of is, since my kids attend Michigan City area schools, I know they use this peach jar system, that perhaps it could be sent to the high school families. I know for my kids' schools, I receive notifications relevant to their schools. So I would volunteer to reach out to them and see if they would be willing to share that with the high school families. I think Ivy Tech is another great, does anyone have a contact at Ivy Tech?
No, but community colleges all frequently get job notices and job, things like that for opportunities for students.
Okay, perhaps Purdue Northwest?
Yeah.
Or
Yes,
Westville, I would think.
everything we can, everything in that age group.
I have a question on this whole kind of action here is, I know at one point we talked about, like, say a year ago, that because I'm wondering who's gonna produce these flyers and
Yeah.
like maybe, you know, does legal have something to mind? But we talked about getting a consultant to help us with the communication and getting a logo and flyers and all of that kind of thing. So, I mean, it sounds like we're rapidly approaching that stage.
You know, he invited us to join his Microsoft Teams meeting in September, so maybe that would be a good time to ask that, if maybe they already,
I believe that they may already have some sort of a flyer, just from
Good.
that they've done.
I
programming
suspect
in
that they do.
Framingham and Chicago.
I'm glad we're not
So-
having to reinvent the wheel.
I think I could reach out to them sooner than that meeting. And,
Oh, yes.
and see if they have a flyer available so that we don't have to develop one.
right,
But we do seem to have an office supplies budget. If they don't have a budget for printing it, and decide we want to print it, perhaps we could try that.
Sure.
I would also say maybe just collectively through our Facebook contacts, there's My Michigan City and this and that. Maybe we can all, we
Yeah.
can circulate it on our Facebook page.
Yep.
And maybe the city would circulate it on their main page.
Those are all good ideas. Well, Jen, will you follow up with that?
Yes.
Thank you for
Thank
doing
you,
that.
Jen.
One other communication I had with the city attorney and the clerk with regards to the new meeting time. I had some discussion via emails with them, verifying that 5:30 is the new time for our meetings and making all that, having the city do everything it needs to do to make that happen.
Great.
Committee reports.
Was there any other communication?
Any other
Laura?
communication?
Sorry. Okay. Sorry.
Committee reports. Education and outreach. Monthly farmers market.
okay, well, I have a few things to say about that. Laura, Dennis and I did attend the last farmer's market date on last Saturday. And we more or less determined that if we don't have trees to plant this fall, that we won't need to go to the September farmer's market.
I would probably be there.
Well, let's see how that goes. I won't because of other things I'm about to say. We did get contacted or asked questions of by a few citizens and some people. I think we dispelled some misinformation about trees. One guy said, "Isn't it true that you have to take down your oak tree when it reaches 100 years?"
Oh my God.
No.
I'm glad you were there.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
Was he a developer?
No, you're still right to maybe.
Right. Still
we
make
did
it-
have a flyer that we gave to a few people.
Good.
It had Mike's email address on it, so if you get a flyer from that. But the other thing I wanted to say is I did contact the Michigan City Library again because our last presentation there really wasn't scheduled soon enough to have a lot of people. So she gave me a date, a tentative date of Tuesday, September 17th at 6 p.m. So I thought that would be a good time to pursue education and outreach and to have a similar presentation to the one I gave before with help of several people here.
Yep.
And some general information about the value of trees, about trees in Michigan City. And by that time, we might have an update about inventory and SCA and where we're going with this and our 5-year plan.
Right.
And first of all, I'd like to ask the board if I should finalize that date, if they think that's a good idea to have another presentation there.
I think it's a great idea. Do you need a volunteer to attend this with you?
Well, I would rather have somebody come than be there all alone in
I'm
case.
usually there for something like that, since that's,
Okay, and the library is more than happy to have us come, but at that time of the year, there's a lot of other groups that want that meeting.
right.
So you
What
should
time
grab-
would it be?
6,
6 p.m.
Did you grab the slot
17.
from the?
Yeah.
Yes, so I told her I would get back to her and finalize that, so-
Great.
which I'll do.
Yes.
That's a Tuesday evening.
Right.
I would have preferred a Thursday, but
Thursdays are always heavily booked.
Yes,
But
they are.
since we would have, this would be in time to get onto the library's schedule and have them do some publicity and
Right.
signs for
Good.
us.
Right.
In light of that, that's one reason why I personally would prefer to be at that first, the first Saturday of September Farmers Market, so we can promote that and have flyers to get that out to people.
Okay,
Yeah, because that'll be enough in advance that we can get some general interest going. And then
well,
also
the idea is to get citizens who are not coming to the farmer's market. Because I see this very similar people crowd there every Saturday at the farmer's.
Yeah, but you're gonna be doing some specific, education. We talked about talking about fall tree planting and fall pruning, and so I think that might be, if I promote that as well,
I
could be a benefit.
I can see that there might be a kind of a principle of diminishing returns at the farmer's market. If you don't have something new to offer people
Right.
coming to the farmer's market, if it's the same crowd that's coming every Saturday for the most part.
I would agree, maybe do it every other month or.
Yeah, but that's up to you. I mean, I don't think there's anything bad about being at the farmer's market. It's just a question of your time and or Dennis's time or whoever, Mary's time, whoever is there. Whether it's really worth it to do it,
Okay, well, if I could change the subject and talk about another education and outreach thing is, at the last meeting, I said I was about to submit a grant application to the Unity Foundation. So I did that on time, and
Thank you.
I sent the application to the mayor's office as requested, and she approved it within 1 day.
That's amazing.
So the gist of the grant proposal would be mostly in line of education and outreach. And as I thought about a suggestion that somebody made at a meeting recently, we should get more children involved. It struck me that a great way to get kids involved would be to offer to plant a tree at every school and have the kids do most of the work. And I've done this before. It's surprising how much work you can get out of kids. They do get pretty excited about planting trees. And the idea is kids learn by doing. So I don't know how the Unity Foundation will go for that, but they're very big on education, so
When do you expect to hear from the?
we will hear from them in September.
Okay, very good.
They promised that.
So maybe by next meeting, perhaps. Maybe not.
That would be a little earlier than what I'm expecting mid-September, but
Okay.
don't worry, you will hear all.
We'll be the first to know.
You'll be the first to know.
All right.
The maximum they would grant would be $5,000,
Right.
so it's not enough to buy trees for the whole city, but it would get a few.
I think we're going to get something from the Unity Foundation. I feel it. Any other education and outreach issues?
One minor point, there's something on here that's kind of been carried over from agenda to agenda. It says tree labels, etc.
Right.
And I would just want to say that we are not actively working on getting tree labels. That was a pet project of one of our former members. And it's possible that if we get a large amount of money from the Unity Foundation, that it could include some tree labels, but that's not the
Good point.
So we
Not
can
We
strike
can,
that from
we
the
can take
agenda.
We
that
should strike that from the
future agendas.
future
And
agendas.
if there is a need for those, NERC does have some that you can check out that are larger. It's kind of intended to be a pop-up arboretum for larger trees.
Nice.
But those are available for checkout if you're having an event and you want to put some up. So that is available, but I agree, strike it. from
We don't
the
need a
agenda.
label like this tree of heaven.
no,
This
we
is
don't
something
need
you
a-
can cut down, and we encourage you to cut down these invasive
I
trees.
have an issue with that.
Well,
Okay,
yeah.
We'll take that
that's-
off the agenda.
that We should not.
Anything
focus
else
on
on
that.
education?
That's it, thank you.
Well, along those lines, though, I think it might be a good idea if we're gonna be going around and planting trees at the various schools, that we might consider having tree labels at the schools, you know, with naming the trees and also naming the fact that there's a tree board that's naming these schools, you know, so that we're, again, doing community outreach and
Yeah,
educating.
that's a good idea, and that's a much more limited
Yeah,
use of tree labels than what was envisioned in the past.
well, and as we would say in my business, hook them when they're young and they're yours for life.
Yeah.
I think there's I think what you say about getting kids involved in planting trees is really important and very true. In my experience, planting at schools is very gratifying because they do get excited about it. It's a hands-on thing rather than talking theoretically about the benefits of trees. They're out there getting dirt under their fingernails, and for many of these kids, they've never held a shovel before. They've never dug a hole before. The concept of how to put a tree in the ground is completely foreign to them, and you kind of see their eyes light up when they go through the process. It is a really good educational experience.
Well, I'm optimistic.
And the teachers are happy because they get them out of the classroom for an hour or two.
I do have just one question or comment, I suppose, on education and outreach. I just want to make sure that as this grant comes online, the specifics of what was promised, I know most grants usually promise a community engagement component. So as we're talking through what we plan to do over the coming months, I just want to make sure that that's in line with your plans, that we're helping you meet the grant, that we're kind of
Yeah,
working together.
I'm going to be submitting that back through so you guys have.
Okay, yeah.
I
Just want to make sure
I
we keep
think-
those things in line.
did I not submit a copy back of the entire grant back?
Oh, you did. I just can't
You did.
recall exactly
Yes.
what it said
Okay.
for community outreach.
Okay.
Well, along that line of education and outreach, perhaps this is a good time to refer to the Tree Board Handbook from the Arbor Day Foundation, which Michael has distributed the electronic copy of to everybody. And he also brought hard copies if anyone should like one.
I would
We
like
got
to.
that at the event.
You already have it? Okay.
Great
Thank you.
resource.
I had it before.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for thinking of that.
Thanks.
Very good. Any other education and outreach issues? No.
Well, this is sort of outreach in going around and doing things in relationship to tree board. I've had a number of people approach me with the idea, and I know they do it in South Bend and Mishawaka, if we, which we don't, ever set up memorial tree plantings. In Mishawaka and South Bend, there are areas in the parks where people can have trees planted in memory of someone. And I know that's not something we do. I'm not sure that's something,
Well, we don't know. The Michigan City Parks might do that.
I haven't heard of that as such.
Oh.
But I did refer people, and this is for the record here, to Friendship Gardens, since I'm on the botanical committee there, and I brought that up, and they said yes, in fact, they welcome people to have memorial trees planted there. So there is one area that can happen in. I don't know if I often thought that park along Michigan there, near the bridge, might be a place that would be a nice
Are those-
space for memorial trees. But again, that's not a program we have.
Are those
But if
typically,
people are interested, they can have memorial trees planted out at Friendship Gardens.
Dennis, are those typically paid for by the person
Yep.
asking for the memorial?
Right.
So that
They pay
is,
for the tree and the plaque.
I think that would be something we should really think about,
I
perhaps.
think the main consideration is just the maintenance aspect of if we have the capacity to make sure those trees are watered, would that individual water the tree? would,
Well, if they're making a donation that pays for the tree, it's presumably part of that donation could go to fund the
To
water
fund.
source.
the water.
Yeah,
But we have to have the capability of getting the tree and planting the tree and moving that through the whole system. And I think that we should be maybe looking at that.
I think we talked about this last month, and just to reiterate, I am still not a fan of this. And I know the LaPorte County Parks Foundation, they also have a memorial bench and I believe tree, and they have a limited time. I think it might be 3 to 5 years. And the concerns are, so what if there's a lightning storm or a windstorm and the tree's damaged? Do we replace all of those trees out of our own pocket? I mean, I think we can run into things that
The quick answer would be no.
But
Well, I don't
have
think
that
the families
maybe in
would
writing
like
to make it
that.
clear.
Right,
The easy answer is to refer people to the Parks Department
Yes.
or the Friendship Gardens.
yes. What a lovely idea. Here's an organization in our area that does that same service. I think we have a lot going on in the next 4 years, and this seems like something maybe we can look into more, but I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
Still.
just very briefly, a very quick story. There's an island in the river in Mishawaka, and I was in a memorial park area there, and I'm walking along, and I looked down, and there was a tree planted in the name of my best friend from grade school. And it was like, what? And then I tried to get my sister on the case to find out what the story of that. And
I just see it as a way to raise funds to plant more trees, and there would have to be some logistics handled for it, but I think it's an idea worth exploring anyway. I don't know what the parameters of it would be, but
In the Chicago park system, they have memorial trees, and they start at $500
Oh, yeah.
for a redbud tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, but probably include a plaque and,
No, they don't. And that's extra.
okay. Okay, because their
So it's-
assumption is they're paying someone, I mean, that's on par if you're paying staff
In many
to hire-
places,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
a
exactly.
money-making idea.
I mean, it's not going to be free, but we can look at that, we can think
Right.
about that. We
Yep.
come back and revisit this idea at some point. Okay, public relations. Mary?
Yeah, so I put on our Facebook page the Friends of Michigan City Tree Board. I put something on tree care that was produced by Purdue University, and I'm gonna try and do, every couple of weeks, put some tree care, tree-related posting out there that's local, Indiana-ish. We still have around 115 followers on our Facebook page, pretty low number. And I did reach out again to the mayor's office, and I got an immediate response from the mayor's assistant, who passed on the information to IT about having them take that over, and I'm still awaiting contact. I will let you know if I hear back from them. So I will continue as we've been going forward.
Great, so as
I
a,
think that's great, and I think that their hesitancy to take that over kind of allows us to do what we've been doing.
Yeah, I don't think
You've done
it's
due
not-
diligence.
Yeah, and it's not a high priority it's not an issue, so I don't think we're high on their radar of concerns.
no, but we've done our due diligence, we've let them know, you've made efforts, you've built a communication, that's all we needed to do. So at this point, you're still in charge of our Facebook Friends of the Tree Board page.
Carry on.
Any other public relations issues? Dennis, anything going on with the Beecher or any of those publications?
no, but there will be when we, about a month from the date for that September library, I'll be getting, we're gonna work on the Beecher, but I'll deal with WEFM and also some of the other publications,
Okay,
and also Facebook and the like. And the different organizations, I'll promote it with Master Gardeners.
very
Is
good.
it something, is there actually any organization for master naturalists that we can contact to promote our stuff?
There is, but I don't know.
Is that through DNR?
DNR, uh-huh.
I'm not sure which department, but.
Okay.
Do you know
DNR.
Betsy Fleek?
Hmm?
Do you know Betsy Fleek?
The name's familiar, but I'm
Yeah, she's
not
been,
chummy with her.
she has managed the Master Naturalist programs at the state park.
Okay.
So I
So
don't,
that might be someone else.
there's
we
some
would
at the
contact.
state park and there's also some at Gabus Arboretum.
Okay.
Any other public relations issues? Hearing none, moving on to the grants question. We've talked about the Unity Foundation application. Community is not going to happen this fall,
Should
and
I-
Jen's going to fill us in.
Should I phrase it as good news or bad news?
And by the way,
bad-
Community is the grant that provides us with actual trees
Yes.
to put in the ground. The last couple of years, we've received 20, 25 trees, and they were planted by us or the Parks Department. This year,
Good news is we have the grant. Bad news is just bureaucracy, red tape.
who is we?
I'm sorry, the Northwest Indiana Regional Planning Commission. I am not here as NERC, I am here as a tree board member. But my day job is working for the Northwest Indiana Regional Planning Commission. They are the entity that normally administers that tree pass-through grant program. And they do it through a grant with U.S. Forest Service. They have been awarded that grant. However, it has been taking months and months through it. I see you nodding. You're familiar with how long these things can take. There's an administrative hiccup. So it is really looking like the funds will not be finalized. You know, at NERC, I need a good month or two to have that contract finalized so that I can procure the trees, and there's just not time.
So bottom line, no
Spring.
Community grant
No
this fall,
community this fall,
possibly in the spring.
very likely in the spring. So I would encourage Michigan City to continue to take down names and maintain a list of residents who are interested in trees. Continue to build a list of, because the reviewers of those pass-through grant applications, they do like to see the exact,
Sure.
we know we're gonna plant these trees and we know how we're gonna water them. So continue to build that list, and then you're ready to hit the ground running in spring. And I would anticipate that spring application, assuming this grant gets finalized quickly, I would assume that we would probably accept applications through sometime in February.
Okay.
And what, do we want to think about whether we even want to do planting in the spring, though, in light of the fact we're going to have our seedling giveaway and we have other things going on, and maybe shooting for the fall? I don't know. I'm just
It's a good
wondering what
question.
people's thoughts are on that.
Okay.
Seedling giveaway, you'll still have 500 other trees to plant.
Right.
Because now we'll have
The grant.
the grant.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll be kicking in next year, that's right.
There is a disadvantage of planting in the spring, and that's you have to water it all summer.
Right.
But
Yeah.
The chances that they will make it are
The,
less, yes.
list of people who want trees, though, can be used by the grant, and it would be very helpful to have
Yeah.
a list for that.
And maybe it's just a conversation of, we're not telling you that we will provide you a tree on this date. It's just, we know you're interested in a tree, and when a tree becomes available, through whatever mechanism, we'll
It's-
contact you.
Okay.
I'm not thinking so much in terms of actually supplying, it's in the reporting that we
Okay.
have lists. That
Okay.
is as important to this, to the grant
Gotcha.
foundation.
Michael, is there some mechanism whereby the city communicates with residents on a regular basis? And I'm thinking taxes
Or the
That-
utility bills or something.
or well, it's not city utilities, but some way that there's some sort of communication going out from the city to residents or property owners that we could segue in and put an advertisement for our tree programs in there that people can sign up for a tree. And, it's sort of like when NIPSCO sends you their bill, they have all these advertisements that are in there sometimes too, or other utilities do that. I don't know, I'm just sort of
Yeah.
thinking out loud here.
There is a, what would you call it? The community, we do have a mechanism where we'll put information out to newspapers and stuff, and they run an article for us. So,
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about direct
Putting a flyer.
communications with residents.
no, we have none. We have no direct communication with residents that I know of.
Are
Like a
water
direct
bills
mailing.
sent, or Like,
A lot of people pay online,
They just-
so a few
Yeah.
people, I still get a water bill, but
yeah.
Yeah.
one of the few.
Yeah, not that I have purview.
But that would be one way to put out the word to
Jump in.
people, because relying on the newspapers and such has not been the most reliable way to get the word out.
One thing I wanted to follow up on, the tree planting, how many trees normally would we be getting for planting?
20.
Through community,
25.
yeah, it would typically be about 20.
I had brought this up when we were chatting at the farmer's market. One of the things we do every fall at Friendship Gardens is we contact all of the nurseries. What do you have excess of? What do you want to get rid of? And we get trees and shrubs and all different kinds of things. If generally we're only planting about 20 trees, that might be something we could look into and ask, does anybody out there, and they can always sign that off as a donation, that can benefit the nursery, and we can end up getting free trees that way.
That's a great idea.
And even if they're trees that we don't plant, I had mentioned about our, not necessarily having a nursery, but having a holding garden like we do out at Friendship Gardens. We get all these donations of plants. We have holding gardens. They're used first thing in the spring. So in light of the fact that tree planting is best in the fall, if we have that available, we might check into that.
So I guess the bottom line here is we want to continue to gather names for people who want trees and
Right.
come up with innovative ways
Yeah.
to get the word out, to solicit that.
Part of the thing is to maintain an ongoing connection with the community, you know.
Well, the plants that a nursery might want to get rid of may not
Yeah.
fall into our usual native
But then we can educate
category.
them about why they should.
Right, right. And that may be true, but that also may not be true, and they may have things that, you know, don't turn over. You know, what we would consider the native trees may not turn over as much as, you know, the typical red buds and whatever else.
What you raise is a different issue than from finding people to take the trees. You're talking about really, let's get some trees from people, from donations from nurseries and stuff, and which is a different issue.
But if we have people signing up for trees, it would be nice if we had trees for those that sign up for them. You know, we follow, then we're seen as an organization that follows through with our offers.
Sounds like.
But we're going to have plenty of trees through the federal grant, and we're going to have community trees next year, hopefully. And so really our problem is not that we're not going to be able to get the trees, it's that we need names of people who want the trees.
Yeah, and
Well, I
I'm just talking about addressing this fall when there's going to be a lack.
Mm-hmm.
Bridging that
Do we
gap.
have a list of individuals who do want to,
Yes.
who have expressed wanting to?
Yes.
How many?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
But like,
It's
Maybe
not
a dozen?
huge.
A dozen?
You know?
Yeah, it's probably more like 8 or 10.
Who has that list?
I have it.
You have it, because you know where everything is buried in this book.
Because I wind up taking the stuff home from the farmer's market.
Getting back on to grants here, if we could leave this subject for the moment. Any other news about grants that we need to discuss? Okay.
I would note just in your forester's report, there was a reference to potentially a grant. Do you want to cover that during your forester's report? But it was
Well,
grant
I'll
related.
cover it now because my forestry report, I'm really not going to add anything new to it.
Okay.
I am working on a community urban grant. It's a limited grant, it's only $25,000, it's a match grant. So the forestry I'm working on putting together a grant. I have the grant narrative listed there on my report. The grant is, I'm working toward building a senior and disadvantaged community tree assistance program. It's an income-based eligibility grant. One of the big problems I see is that I have a lot of residents in Michigan City, well, in Indiana, are responsible for the trees on their property. So if you have no income, but you have a dead tree that's gonna cost $5,000 to remove, it's, in Indiana's eyes, it's kind of like tough luck. It's still your job to get it done. So I'm looking to, I'm gonna build a grant to cover Michigan City's elderly and disadvantaged neighborhoods with assistance taken care of.
And this is a matching grant, and you've talked to the mayor's office about their okay on this. Is that
Sure,
correct?
sure.
Where would the matching funds come from?
It'll come from the forester's account that I set up, the irrevocable account.
And that's,
Oh, the one where you collect the fines and the
That's
fees?
where I'm putting the
Yes.
fines and fees that I collect are going into that account.
that's pursuant
I
to,
can use that money as match grant to buy more trees.
and that's pursuant to the new ordinance that was passed
That's right.
recently.
Right.
Now-
That ordinance I wrote did get passed and the account's set up, so everybody here is getting a fine before they leave.
And so those trees then will need to be replaced 2 to 1. Would you anticipate planting those trees to replace on the resident's property or?
Yes and no. The 2 to 1, the way the grant I wrote it is it's a 2 to 1 replacement, but the second tree does not, the trees don't have to be replanted
Okay.
on that property.
So that they can go where they're needed?
Right.
Great.
Yep.
How much money is in your fund?
Right now,
Yeah.
0.
That's what.
But that's like I said, by the end of the night, I see 10 people, it's growing.
So this would commit those funds
Yep.
to this project. I mean, is that, I think that's something that we need to discuss, whether that is what the board wants to do with that
This
money.
isn't a board thing, this is a forestry thing. It's separate.
We've heard about this before, and most of us were very positive about the
Oh, yeah, I think
idea.
that's a great idea. I just was curious about the details of it and also curious if, so your staff time is not federally funded, correct? So if you didn't have enough in that fund, in theory, your time to manage this program could be counted as in-kind match.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have kind of that backup plan
Mhm.
if you didn't have.
And it's not in here, but I'm gonna jump into what's not on my report. Everybody got a copy of the report, so but I'm also going to be adding staff. I'm gonna be hiring a apprentice, or at least the plan is to hire an apprentice on the 3-year program where he'll be an aide, so pretty much. And my job will be to get him, make sure he gets trained and ready to take the ISA exam at the end of 3 years. So I'll have that.
You'll have
And
more
also,
capacity, yeah.
I'm taking over, like in the winter, I'm using grant, we have in our grant money for the removal and maintenance of pruning, maintenance and removal of trees in the city, not in the city property, but on, as it applies to the grant. And so since I bought since we now have the bucket truck, I'm going to be taking some employees from Vector Services, and I will be managing those employees to handle tree removal, tree trimming things.
Great.
Very good. Any other questions for Mike on the forester's report?
Do you know who it is that you're hiring for the apprentice?
Nope.
So he or she might be starting at some point in the next few months?
Theoretically. I don't have, this is just
Yeah, the program.
where I'm working for.
No, when you said he, I thought, rather than he or she, I thought you had someone in mind and you knew who that
Yeah,
was.
no,
Got it.
he is generic. He.
In this case.
Last millennium, yeah.
I'll see that on the paper tomorrow.
But I would point out the opportunity for us to perhaps do outreach together for both the SCA program and the apprenticeship, because I think ideally we would like to see those individuals come from the community. So as we're doing that outreach, would that make sense to?
before we get too far,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
We're not there yet?
No, I don't know if this was a tree board matter for tonight or not. But
Yeah, it wasn't initially. The gentleman in front of the gentleman in the back, this is Mr. Kraft. He is the, what are you?
The inventory guy.
in this capacity, as long as we're talking about the apprenticeship program,
Yeah,
program coordinator for a brand new program, the first time it's been done in the state of Indiana. It's a arborist apprenticeship, registered arborist apprenticeship program. It also comes from federal money, the same big pot of money that most of the grants talked about here tonight come from, which starts all the way up at the Inflation Reduction Act, passed down through the U.S. Forest Service. And then the Indiana Arborist Association put in a application last fall to start registered arborist apprentice program. Reason being, arborists and foresters are hard to come by. There's not a lot of us out there, and we need more of us, especially with all, the larger grant that we're talking about here. We need people to do that work, to prune trees, to remove trees, to plant trees. So their idea was to start this program. It has been done elsewhere in the country. We've been involved as a company. My company's Great Lakes Urban Forestry. We've been involved from day one with the Open Lands program. One of my employees was integral in getting that off the ground about 3 years ago. And so they came to us, Indiana Arborist Association came to us and said, we applied for this money. This is kind of like in a nutshell here, but we don't know how to do it. And we know that you guys have done it before, especially with open lands. And having a lot of municipal contacts, because that's what I do professionally, we agreed to run the program for them. So we're in the very, very, very early stages of it. So to answer some of your questions, do we know who this apprentice is? No, we don't. We're not quite there yet. It's kind of like putting together a big puzzle. We've had several steps along the way. First of all, we had to come up with a curriculum, the budget for the program, and then we had to seek out potential employers, which I put a big email blast out to all my contacts, and Mike responded, so I thought that was great. At that time, I already knew we were going to be working with them yet.
So this is an apprentice who would be paid for through this federal grant program
partially.
that would be working with the
City funds as well.
It gets paid, the city actually pays the apprentice, is the way it actually works.
Yep.
So let me just kind of finish where I was going with that. We first had to get our budget set, get the curriculum lined up, which we really, like I said, we didn't have to reinvent the wheel because we've already done this before with Open Lands. Then we had identified potential employers. Mike was gracious enough to think this is a great idea, want to help us out. Then the last two steps are getting instructors, which we've done, and then getting the apprentices, which is where we're at right now. So we're working with an organization called the Center for Workforce Innovations, and out of Valparaiso, and we're right now trying to organize a few events, at least two, across Northwest Indiana. One is going to be in Purdue Northwest and Hammond, and then I was actually going to talk to Mike tonight after the meeting about possibly hosting one here, because he was one of the more enthusiastic potential employers. So,
And yes, we will.
yeah, and what we want to do is, this is just falls in line with everything that was said here tonight about this, is try to go into the high schools and community colleges and wherever we can to find out some young people that might want to get involved in this, and then get them all to maybe attend an event that just an idea I had was like do something at Washington Park where we could do some demonstrations on tree pruning or watering, mulching, whatever it is, and then see if we can maybe pull from that pool of applicants and see if we can get an apprentice. Our goal is to have 5 the first year, expand it to 10 by next year, and then 15 by the following year. It's a 3-year, we have funded for 3 years. It only covers Lake, Porter, and LaPorte County, but the goal is to make it successful so that we can reapply and then maybe even launch it statewide at some point. So that's what we're trying to do. I wasn't even expecting to talk about those.
I know.
So this is.
I threw him on the spot.
Yeah, it's great that it came up.
Scott usually the one that throws us on the spot.
So we're still working on that. I think the curriculum's done and the budget is done. And as far as getting instructors, because there's a certain amount of classroom education that goes into it, as well as the in the field time and being placed with an employer. But we got the instructors down, and we just basically are at the point where we could use a couple more employers. It just depends on how many apprentices we get. Trying to cap it at about 5 for the first year. That's what the budget allows for. But we're working on it.
Well, it sounds like
this would be really great if we could make it happen.
Sounds like a very good program, and would be helpful for you to have somebody working with you, Mike.
So all our questions are premature. We're just excited.
Exactly.
A lot of people need it.
Right.
There's a lot of people out there too who want one, but they don't have a certified arborists on staff in the first place, like Mike.
Yeah.
They can't even train them to begin with.
Yeah, we're
So,
one of the very few.
very challenging.
And if you're unsure as to why it's a 3-year program, a person has to do this kind of thing for 3 years in order to be eligible to sit for the exam these days.
Yes,
Right.
that's correct.
I took the exam without 3 years of work experience, and I'm glad I did at the time, but nowadays it's a 3-year thing.
So, returning to this Forester's report, any other questions or issues about the Forester's report? Thank you, Phil, for that information. Okay, moving on. Old business, vote on changing day of monthly tree board meetings. I'm going to table that issue for the moment. Have yet had to have the opportunity to talk to Dominique and Cora. Dr. Cora, our other board member, about how they feel about that and whether we even want to pursue this issue or not. Maybe we'll bring it up for discussion next time. We also have Phil who's going to talk about the inventory, so I want to try to move on here.
Good.
We'll come back to that issue next meeting. If you could put that on the, Mike, put that back on the agenda for next meeting then. New business, Mr. Phil Graff from Great Lakes Urban Forestry, who is the contractor who is conducting the tree inventory pursuant to the big federal grant we have. Phil, tell us what's going on.
Yeah, thank you for, first of all, for awarding us the project. We're really excited to do it. We kind of feel like the hometown guys here because we are local. I live about 15 minutes away from here. My daughter lives here in Michigan City. I've done tree inventory for so many of the municipalities around here that it was about time that we got the opportunity to help you guys out. So I'm really excited. This is the first step. Anytime you're planning any kind of big project and trying to spend $1 million, right, you got to have planning on the front end.
Sure.
And so essentially what we are doing is most efficiently planning for this project. And the first thing we need to do is get an inventory of what's out there. Where are your trees? What condition are they in? How old are they? How long are they expected to live? What are their needs? And also what's really important about this specific inventory and as it relates to the grant is where aren't there trees? And there could be trees. Where are we going to plant these trees? What is the line item in the budget for tree planting? It's
The total?
yeah.
For trees combined is $530,000.
So you can't just take $530,000 and go buy trees and say, hey, we're going to plant these. So
And just to clarify, Phil, I see, you're only concerned with trees that are on city right-of-way,
not
city
only-
parks, or what? Tell us
Yeah,
where you're
actually,
looking.
Can I hand out that?
I mean, you're-
I just passed
Okay,
them out.
okay, great. So the scope of the project is all street trees within the right of way, all the trees in the parks, all the city-owned properties. They're all listed, I think, on page 3 there,
Yeah.
which is, police station, fire station, libraries, any property the city owns, including 2 cemeteries and 2 golf courses.
Everything except private property.
Everything except private property,
Okay.
that is correct.
I'm sorry to interject, but my understanding from the grant is that we're neighborhoods that are not quote-unquote disadvantaged, which would only be Edgewood.
The lake, yeah, the north side.
Well, I think it's, is it the Edgewood community that by the map is not considered disadvantaged? Will
But the
that
tree,
be, will
the
we
tree
be able to-
inventory includes everything.
It does, okay, thank you.
Tree inventory
Thank you.
includes everything.
That's great.
Because
It needs to be comprehensive.
Yeah, we kind of had to lobby for that a little bit.
Okay,
There's a good
good.
reason, and that's
Yeah.
that what the other requirement that we have in doing this is we're required by the government, federal government, to also supply the urban forestry management plan. And you can't make an urban forestry management
Without the
plan
whole- yeah.
unless you have all the data.
Okay,
on all the
enough
trees.
said. I just wanted to, that's good news. That's
So,
good news.
so the trees that we're going to be planting in the future, all trees that need to be removed for the future that will be identified during the study, all trees that need to be pruned for safety and health of the tree, all that work has to be done in the disadvantaged communities, which goes by the census tracts. And then any money that you've previously used when you didn't have this grant that was in your budget for trees, whatever that was, now you can put towards those areas that don't fall into, what the grant is going to cover. But over the next 3 years, you'll be able to, and this is an incredible opportunity because it's zero match. So you're going to be able to have a lot of trees removed. You'll be able to have a lot of trees pruned to make them safer and healthier, and you're going to get have the opportunity to, in my opinion, just from windshield tour, you'll be able to plant a lot more trees than what you're cutting down. You'll be able to fill a lot of those open planting spaces, which more than likely are probably due to emerald ash borer. In Northwest Indiana, one thing that I've noticed over the years working here is the big challenges have always been, or not always, but in the last 2 decades, emerald ash borer came in. We didn't ask for it. It was a natural disaster. Killed a lot of trees. A lot of resources had to go into removing those trees, which then challenged budgets to be able to remove non-ash species, prune trees that need to be pruned, and plant trees. So we see a lot of off-balance stocking densities. In other words, there's a lot of open planting spaces and not as many trees as there should be. That, again, just as a windshield tour, that's certainly true of Michigan City.
Question, when do you start and when do you finish?
All right, we're going to start on my target start date for right now is August 26th, which is 2 weeks. We've been in contact, our GIS professional in-house, his name is Steve, has been working. You haven't even seen half of the emails, but I go back and forth. I should have been copying you, but I'm getting some of the information off of your GIS to get onto our system so that we can get out there and get this work done. A lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. I was hoping to start this coming Monday, but it looks like it's probably going to be 2 weeks.
So when do you finish?
It looks like August 26th will be start date. Based on that date, I'm thinking 10 weeks, which puts us around November 1st. It takes about a month to prepare all the deliverables that go along with this, which would include obviously the QA/QC of the data, but a tree inventory report, the actual work lists and maps of what needs to be pruned, what needs to be removed, and the tree planting plan, which I know Mike is excited about working on, but we certainly got to help. By mid-December, we should have a final full deliverable of the whole project.
That's quicker than I was hoping. That's great.
Do you have a question?
One concern of mine is, I'm hoping as part of this inventory that you're able to get up there and do some thermal imaging and really be able to look at where the hot spots are. That, visual isn't necessarily going to tell you that. And that's, that way back when, they were talking years ago about there should be trees in every parking lot, and that's never happened. And we have a lot of thermal hot spots in this town that just an eye inventory might not.
Correct. Well, it is in the contract. It was in your RFP that we are going to be doing a canopy cover study as well.
Okay,
And that's
good,
all based
good.
on LiDAR data.
Yeah.
Not necessarily thermal imaging, but it's LiDAR data.
And I assume like the nature of this grant being that it is intended for disadvantaged communities, which almost all of Michigan City, except those pocket
Right.
neighborhoods, are considered, that in that planting plan, you guys will consider that. There are all these online tools of tree equity mapper, that kind of help you to integrate, where you need trees
Yeah,
to increase equity.
Does your inventory include invasives, like, tree of heaven and mulberry? Well, mulberry's, I guess, not an invasive.
When we see them over the course of the inventory, we're identifying every single tree.
Okay.
It's a stem-by-stem tree inventory. Every single tree is going to have a dot on the map where you open it up and all the information pops up. So we'll pick up all the invasive species.
Another benefit I want to make clear, because I've seen you guys present on the amazing work that you guys do. I believe that as you take this inventory, it's the first step, and then in developing the planting plan, we'll have a better idea of what species we have in Michigan City.
We'll have a complete count.
So
Yeah.
then, as we're planting more trees, we know, oh, you guys have a whole lot of silver. You guys have a whole lot of
Incredible
people. You have a whole lot of this, you have a whole lot of that. You might want to consider planting, and we can develop a list of, I think we already have a list of species, but we can better inform
That's
and
a really,
target
yeah,
what we want to
that's a
plant.
really good point. Another question, we've had tree inventories done in the past, and I'm sure you have those, right? Are those of any use to you
No.
on this, or are they too dated?
The first one I think was done in 2000, so
Pre-emerald ash.
it's pre-emerald ash borer, and it's
Yeah.
4 years old. The tree inventory essentially is a snapshot in time, right? So
Yeah.
that one was long overdue. There was another one from 2020, but it was very limited in what was even collected and what.
Yeah.
I think there was 3 pieces of data on every tree.
It seems the tree inventory is only useful if you have funds to implement a plan of action after you do the inventory. If you don't have those funds, it's
Right.
wasted money.
And now you do.
And we,
Yeah.
And now you do.
Yeah.
So the first step is to do what we're just about to do. So you can take that $1 million and use it most efficiently and get the most, as they say, bang for your buck. So that's what we're here for.
How does Michigan City compare to other communities in which you've done tree inventories?
Here in Northwest Indiana, it's par for the course. It's as I said before, it's a lot of imbalanced stocking densities. What I mean by that is there's a lot more open planting spaces than there are trees planted in those spots. So we need trees, and I think that's good. That, of course, we all know here what the benefits of trees. I don't have to explain all that to the tree board, of course. That is what I would say, just as kind of a casual remark about it. But to get more detail, I have to actually spend some time
Sure,
here on
yeah.
the streets,
we'll get there.
Right.
and then I'll be able to tell you a little bit better. I've worked in LaPorte. I'm actually the city forester in LaPorte through a contract basis. So I work with them regularly since we did their tree inventory in 2019. They actually got the same grant you guys did.
Yeah.
So I just updated it. We just finished it last week, as a matter of fact. And, driving through and spending a lot of time in both communities, they look very similar, or what I see.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the devastation of emerald ash borer, essentially, and aging maples. That's my best characterization without digging into it like I'm about to, is just a lot of open planting spaces and a lot of aging maples.
That's what I noticed driving around town.
And that's what you see everywhere.
Silver maple.
There's a lot of big oaks. There's a lot of aging oaks.
Mm-hmm.
I know, but I saw the same thing really at Highland and Griffith and Hammond, and we've worked in Rochester and Terre Haute and all across the state of Indiana. It's all very similar.
Are there any other questions for Phil from the board?
Happy you're here and about to start on that work.
Yes.
Thanks,
Yes.
Phil.
I think
I'd be happy to come in at each meeting for a quick update if you have time or if you want.
if you can,
Yes.
that would be great. And this is really helpful to us to have you come in and talk to us like this. I thank you for coming
Thanks
very
for
much.
having me.
And I think for people listening or watching this board meeting as well.
I did give you guys the handout, so if you want to take some time to read that,
Yeah.
especially page 3 gives you a little bit more.
Appreciate that.
And I'm going to mention some of these tentative dates and projections in my presentation at the
Okay.
library,
Yeah,
because
very good.
the public needs to know.
Well, that's something
also-
we can also include at the farmer's market.
Mary, it might be something that you could publicize on the Facebook page,
They don't-
that this inventory is going to be beginning.
Farmer's market.
This is what it involves. This is how long it might be going on.
Who you have.
As part of the tree board's efforts to implement this grant.
You okay with that, Phil?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
One last question, and this might be more for Michael, on the city side. I'm thinking just, down the road, maintenance of this inventory. Who in the city, is it the planning department that manages GIS? Do we have a GIS you're the GIS person? Okay, so
The tree inventory, it's already on my desk.
okay, but you have access to GIS and you'll be able to help
Yeah.
maintain it. Okay, cool, yeah.
Excellent.
Just want to make sure that people who need to be looped in are looped in so that it gets maintained once it's done.
Very good point.
In fact, as they're collecting the data,
It's just going straight.
it's in real time, yeah. That's how I'm keeping track of them every day.
This is going to be illuminating, I think, to see the results of this.
That is.
Okay, moving on to comments from board members. Any comments by board members? Other than what we've already talked about? Comments from the public? Mr.
Scott.
My time has arrived.
What is your name?
I thought you
Scott
had
Helen, 200 Kendall Place.
How do you spell your last name?
M-E-L-A-N-D, Meland. You're
Okay.
Meland, Meland.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, I apologize, but again, this does conflict with another meeting. The park board is at 5 o'clock. And I was a little confused because your agenda says 5:30 once you click deep enough to find it, but
Yeah.
the webpage still says 6:30.
Yeah.
And I know it's all work,
Oh, I
but
should have changed it.
just so you know, that's,
Thanks
it's not
for
very
pointing that
members of
out.
the public coming here. but
Yeah, yeah.
It was frustrating for me when I came and saw it was already.
I did it on
But-
purpose.
Yeah, I know you. Dinosaur. It sounds like fall is the best time to plant trees for
It
different
is.
reasons.
In my opinion, yes.
So I would suggest that we don't do spring plantings at all, that we focus for fall, because you're more likely to be successful. I mean, I think we all agree with that. Everybody wants to get in the water bill. The water bill goes to about 15,000 people, and you have to understand it's about 10 cents a copy to go in there. So there's a fee to that, and somebody has to do it. I think you'd be better off with Facebook. And there's not just your group, because I forget how many members you said you had.
Yeah, 113.
But
Nothing.
we have several local groups, Michigan City LaPorte, Michigan City Positive News, Michigan City Unfiltered, or whatever. And that, between those groups, the Beecher, WFM, WIMS, and the Dispatch, or the Herald Argus, whatever it's called now, that's probably your best way to get word out, in my opinion, as opposed to the water bill, because everybody wants that, and most of us are paying online.
Absolutely.
Most people don't.
It's really good to hear Mike here. It's creative financing. It's I don't know Mike, but we've interacted a little bit. I'm very impressed by what I've heard that you've arranging so far. This grant, arranging this, getting the truck out of the. He got a truck with no equipment, by the way, so he's going back to the Board of Works for,
That's right.
for another hit.
Actually, I don't have to.
But it's great that what he's doing with the grants and so forth. I got a little lost on the planting trees for people, cost income based.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which is. That's not this big federal
No,
grant.
this
That's,
is a smaller federal grant that I'm applying.
okay. And it's like the rules probably use Medicaid people, forget age and stuff. It's
We're
people
gonna
who qualify.
Basically, it's
It's
the way that I've got it written is 60 and above
Yeah.
is the age, but I'm planning on,
Because there are wealthy seniors.
oh, yeah, yeah.
You're either successful.
You could say
okay, or
single-
you're not.
That's right.
It seems a retirement.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't just be because you're old.
Right.
Hell, I'm almost 60.
Well,
Almost.
I just
60 is also a very low number to work with. I mean, if you really want to target an
Well-
age group, I think I would go higher than 60. But
And the income-based, we have other income-based aid programs, be they Medicaid or food-based aid, that kind of thing. So
Sure.
you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's like, are you Medicaid? We can help you with the tree,
Right.
kind of a thing. When it comes to the grant, the federal grant, I know it's $1 million apparently,
Mhm. Over 5 years.
and the inventory is like $68,000.
63.
63,700.
And it's good to hear there's social equity in this, because there was some concern by public speaking and common council about where these trees going to go. Unfortunately, I live in Edgewood, so I guess I'm SOL.
plant your own darn trees.
I
I'll
cut
find
down,
other app.
just above all you guys, I had to cut down 8 trees on my own very little property.
Oh,
But I planted about 48 bushes, but it's not, and 1 oak tree.
okay.
3-inch caliber, I spent real money for a real tree.
8 trees. Where's that phone book?
No, it's private property. When it comes to removal of the trees for the grant, will we be paying a wholesale rate or like a retail plus?
I don't get what you mean. By the
Well,
label
if I call a forest, or if I call an arborist, they're gonna charge me $4,000 to cut down a
Okay.
tree.
I'm,
If I
Be
find a
bid?
guy,
Will it have to be bid, Michael?
I am actually training our current staff, so we won't be hiring that out. We're using current people and,
okay, so we're gonna try to do the removals.
we're doing it at cost.
Okay, Oh, great.
Yeah.
Because that's how you stretch money, because it's really easy to fritter away free money.
Yeah.
And,
So I plan to use it at cost.
because we all know about these $600 hammers and $1,000 toilet seats, and I wouldn't want $10,000 tree removals. You won't get very many tree removals out of the deal. Other than that, sounds really good. I know you're doing, you know, we're all citizen volunteers, really appreciate what you're doing. This grant's amazing. Mike is doing great work here. Getting grants, getting the truck, training, vector control. Apparently he won't be coming to my neighborhood. So
You never know.
That's what
You never know.
And one last question. So,
Unless there are some fines to levy in your
right?
neighborhood.
You know, hey, you
There
never
will
know.
be, and there will be.
It was a big oak.
I know.
It was hollow and drop limbs. We call them the parkway or the city property, the tree lawn.
The tree lawn.
Yes.
Is the city responsible for removing trees in the tree lawn if
Yes.
they're not healthy?
Yes.
I didn't
Yes,
talk to you.
they're city property.
Jim, I had something I wanted to
Yes, I
follow
know.
up on.
You need to cruise my neighborhood. Okay, great. That's all.
Okay.
If I may, I know.
Oh, one question for you actually before you start. Do you do this with a drone? How do you do the inventory? Is it just...
Well, that can be discussed later after
Yeah,
the
no,
meeting.
we have a team that goes out there, walks down the street,
Wow.
maps every tree,
That's hard.
GPS locates it, measures it, all that.
And I'm
So,
sorry, you were going to say.
Just a quick point of clarification, I'll try to be quick. So fall is a really good time for planting trees, for all the reasons you mentioned. Water management is a little bit better for that, but it's not that, if you plant a tree in the spring, if you plant a tree in the fall, there's still water management that needs to happen
Oh,
the
yes.
next year. I would not ever advise to plant all of your trees in the fall, because there's one downside to it, and it's a big one, and that's that you're very limited with what species are available as fall planting.
True.
For example, if you're never going to plant trees in the spring and you're only going to plant in the fall, you're not going to plant any oak trees. Unless, however, you find above ground stock that were dug in April and now you're planting them in October, November, which is a risk too, because you don't know who's been taking care of that tree for the last 6 months.
That's right.
So if we want to plant a wide diversity of trees, which is always my recommendation, so that we don't have another emerald ash borer-like event, okay, a species-specific pest or pathogen, and we want to use naturally the best way to immunize a tree population is to have diversity, okay? So if we're going to really make that one of our strategic goals, which it always is, best management practices these days in our horticulture and urban forestry, we have to plant a diverse set, which means we're going to have to utilize the spring season. Just so you know, like...
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to make that.
Tag them early.
So it's really healthy to do like a 50-50 mix, and it does help to
Yeah.
plant a lot in the fall for water management, but it's just a reality. You're going to get maybe
That's a good
about
point.
20% of the species that you want to put in if you only do fall.
The last thing, it's great that contract went to a local company. Well, good work. Or was part of the grant.
Well, it was a competitive
No,
process.
What was the competitive?
It was a competitive process.
Okay, any other comments by
Yeah.
board members?
I was just going to mention, Michael, I see that you're not going to be able to attend the September
Correct.
meeting, but I wanted to get clarification, and maybe this is already worked out, but I know a couple of times we've, are you producing the agenda and the minutes, and will you send those out before the meeting? I just want to make sure we have that covered
Right.
before
I
the
will-
2 days
The
notice.
minutes from today will obviously be produced. The agenda will obviously be produced, and I'll get that out, because that, but next month, September's minutes, I won't be here to write them, so.
I understand, yes. No, I mean for September's meeting, I just want to make sure that, and that'll get out before, how many days do we need it before? Is it 48 hours?
48 hours.
Okay.
I try to get it out a
Okay.
week ahead.
Not counting any holidays that might.
Okay, and
That's
the
right.
next...
And did we want to consider moving the meeting, since you won't be here, or should we just keep it at that time?
I think we can just keep it on the 4th.
Sounds good.
Mike doesn't have to be here. We'll catch up with him the following month.
And then, will you be doing the minutes as the
I
secretary?
would do the minutes, yeah.
Okay,
I was just thinking that if Labor Day is before our meeting, that's gonna decrease,
oh, that's right.
yeah.
This-
The agenda would have to be in on Friday before.
That's right.
Like I said, I get them out at least a week ahead of
Yeah.
time, so.
Yeah.
And I would just ask that since we've been considering potentially moving which day of the week we meet on, perhaps it would be a good idea to reach out to Dr. Cora and Dominique Edwards. You're going to do that? Okay. Just so that we know in case they can't make it, so that we can.
I emailed them and I did not receive a response
Okay.
from either of them a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
I'll follow up on that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Because we don't want to, I mean, we don't want to fix something that's not broken necessarily and
Yeah,
create a
yeah.
new problem. So our next meeting will be September 4th at 5:30 PM. Do I hear a motion to adjourn this
No,
meeting?
I have one thing I wanted to say.
Okay, before we do that.
This looks really interesting, the training volunteers to prune recently planted small street trees. And I was just wondering if there's a plan to train some volunteers in this.
For the city,
Yeah,
I have yet to, I've got that far, no. I
okay,
currently have no training program for volunteering.
okay.
You got your hands full with
Yeah,
$100.
But
I would add that I've done that many times
But yeah,
as part of the open lands program.
Maybe down the road.
well, but that's kind of a, honestly, it's one of the things assigned to the tree board,
Okay,
anyway, so.
so we can consider that.
I think we need
And that's why I wanted to
volunteers
get
for
that out.
planting more than for pruning. If he's going to have apprentices, 'cause pruning is a more difficult task.
It's also hazardous,
True.
depending on how you do it, and I would be, I imagine that the city legal would be concerned about that.
Right.
That was a good follow-up question, since it was presented, I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
are we going
Yeah.
to?
I think Valpo does have a program, so if we ever wanted to consider that in the future, perhaps we could ask their arborist to come and talk about how they've set up their program.
I would also suggest that since there is a tree stewards program, that if we have a volunteer program, that attending the tree stewards class should be the first step.
And maybe
Sounds
we
good.
can work together to do a Facebook post about that tree steward.
Okay, great. And I
Residents.
signed up for that, okay.
We need to expand our Facebook number of people that get on our page, that's for sure. Okay, any other comments by the board? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned. See you in September.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.